Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second of this iteration, but one of many Europeana Tech and IIIF webinars highlighting different projects that are implementing IIIF, whether in a Europeana context or in the context of other organizations. So yes, thank you very much for joining. We have three presenters today. We have Andreas Sajic, we have Tristan Rodas and Erwin Verbruggen. And my name is Gregory Marcus from the Netherlands Institute for Sound and Vision / Europeana Tech. And we have Glenn Robson, IIIF Technical Community Coordinator. Correct? Yep. We will put in the chat a document that will host the minutes and any notes that are being taken. Feel free to add your name or add any notes or minutes as we go along. We expected to have quite some people today, so this is in webinar format, so please put any questions you will have in the chat, and I will then pass them on to the specific presenters. And with that, I will hand over to Tristan, who will present his work at COGAP.
Thank you, Greg. So what I'd like to do in the next 15 minutes or so is just give you a whirlwind tour of what I consider to be one of the most underrated of the 4, possibly 5 IIIF APIs, which is the Content Search API. What I'd like to do, I'll just tell you a bit about me, describe what it is, show some real world examples of it in use in the wild, and then end up with just a quick roundup of the components that you'll need if you want to implement this yourself at your own institution. So first of all, who am I? I'm the technical director of COGAP. We're a digital agency based in the UK, and we've been using various IIIF APIs since 2014, responsible for serving millions of images. And the obligatory commercial plug, please do hire us if you need something similar. So on to what is the Content Search API? So effectively, it's the way to search the annotations that are assigned to a given manifest. So this is IIIF jargon, but to give a real world example, which we'll show, is, for example, to search the written content of a book, where the manifest would describe the book itself and all of the pages in that book as individual canvases. So each, generally one image per page, will correspond to a canvas. And then on each page, there can be annotations. And the most obvious example of what to annotate would be the actual transcription of the text for each word on that scanned page. So we'll see examples in a second. Hopefully that will become clearer. But also the Search API released a brand new version this month. So we're currently on the spec version 2, and all the examples I'll be showing you are from that, although actually the code examples will be from that, but the functional examples are using the older version 1, although effectively they all do roughly the same thing. It's more a syntax change in moving to version 2. So first of all, how can you tell whether a given manifest has the Search API available? The answer is that it's embedded as part of the manifest description itself. So there's a service section, and if that includes something that says it includes Search Service 2 or slightly different syntax for Search Service 1, then you know that the content is going to be searchable. And then what can you search? So effectively, there's several parameters, but only one is required, and that parameter is Q for query, and that is the list of your input search terms. So in its simplest form, you just provide the endpoint, the Search API endpoint, with a list of search terms in the Q parameter. There are other ways you can choose to filter this by motivations, in case there's different types of annotations for the content, by date, in case you want to filter by that, and also by user as well, in the case of, say, user contributed annotations. So effectively, to retrieve results is very simple. you just have the URL of the endpoint, and at the end of it, $Q equals the search term that you want. And in response, you will get a big long chunk of JSON. So there's a lot of detail here, but really the only thing to note is you get a response with lots of different items there in an array. And in each item, they will tell you several things. So first of all, the actual search term matches. So here we search the word bird. The response there might be then the fuller sentence in which that word features. Secondly, which canvas it's on. So effectively, if in the book example, which page of the book is it actually matching? And that's the first part of that target response there. And then secondly, optionally, but it's included in all the examples I'll be showing you, is positional information. And so right at the end there, you can see an XYWH, which gives you a bounding box for the position of that annotation. And to my mind, including that is where it gets really interesting, because you can do a whole lot more with the displayed results. For completeness, I've mentioned what other things it can do, but again, optionally, you can choose to paginate your responses. So if maybe you've got thousands of search result hits and you don't want to return it all at once, you can request pagination. And you can also provide extended results. So the example there is where we may want to show the search term matches, but split it out into its context. So a prefix and a suffix. So if the whole phrase were there are two birds in the bush, we actually split that out. And again, that means that anything that is requesting this might choose to format it differently and embolden the matching word in the middle of the sentence or similar. And then finally, if you want, then it also supports autocomplete. So if you have a search system such as Elasticsearch or Solr that will automatically give you autocomplete results from your data set, then you can choose to surface those two via the Content Search API. And so in this example, the Q parameter is just BIR. Someone has started typing a word, and the autocomplete can then respond with matching words that correspond to the input search term. But anyway, enough of the techie background. What does it actually look like? So first up, if we look at the Content Search API is supported by the two major viewers, Universal Viewer and Mirador. So here, if we look at an example from loading up a manifest with Universal Viewer, you can see right down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see my mouse, there is a search input box, and you could type in here, in this case, the word export. What it will then do is highlight every single page. So this is an example with lots and lots of pins here, because actually we have lots and lots of matches within the document. But here there's 100 odd pages in the document, 90 odd matches or something, and we're showing one pin per page. So you can use these pins to jump quickly to the page, which corresponds to these thumbnails down the left. And once you get to a page that has matches, it will then use the positional information to do this blue overlay to show all of the matching search terms on that page. And there's also sort of pagination through results, previous results, next results. Mirador version 1 is similar, but to my mind, a bit less useful. It has the search terms in the left-hand panel here. We can type in the search term. It will then give you a big scrollable list of all of the pages it matches and the number of matches per page, as well as the fragments that it's matched. And when you click on one of these, it will take you immediately to that page, which in this case is like a film strip along the bottom, and zoom to the area in which that word has been found, although not actually highlight them. Mirador 2 is a whole lot better to my mind. So again, keeping the same idea of a left-hand panel, you can see this is the search selected here, and typing in here, it starts to give the matches, but it gives you the page numbers and so on, and highlights which one you include. And when you click on that, it will again show you the exact term highlighted there and any other matches on the page in a different color as well. You can also use the results to for your own custom viewers if you want. So here's an example from the Qatar Digital Library, which is a site we created a few years back. And in this case, you can't see the controls, but this is a big open Seadragon viewer, so it has the normal sort of plus minus zoomable things. But we also added another little search box, and if you type that, it will provide the overlays using that positional information. We can also use it more traditionally to give search results within a page. So here is the landing page for the equivalent of a whole book, a big long list of pages with 700 pages in this case. And below the sort of listing of each individual page, we have a prominent search box to search within. And if we type that, then we get taken to a traditional search results page. So here found 118 matches, and you would see if you carried on down, sort of 118 or some pagination, but maybe 20 or so on a page. For each result, we return a thumbnail of the page that it matched on, and then here the actual text that matches. So this is standard stuff coming back from Solr in this case, where we highlight the exact word in the fragment that it's found, and then with some ellipses and another fragment where it's found, and ellipses and another one. So so this is fairly standard functionality for textual search. But what we also added was this ability below, what we call quick look. So if I click on if I roll over, in fact, the first match, then what we do is actually just, only while the mouse is there, we overlay the relevant part of the page. So here we've used the position information, that's where we want, but we also know that it's near the top of the page. And so we will trim the pages. If you took cutters across the page and just had a fragment of it at full width so that it's more legible, I'd roll over the second one, the same thing happens, it jumps down that document and shows me it again in context. And the same with the third one for a different match as well. And so all of this functionality, effectively, it's replicating what we see here in the text-only format, but in this case, it actually shows you the image of the document in which it's found, which gives even more context and helps also if, for example, the transcription text is a bit incorrect. On another site that we created more recently, the Arabian Gulf Digital Archive, we again use the search API to drive this experience of overlaying matches on the document, but in this case in a different style. In this, with this viewer, what we have is effectively a continuous transcription down the left of all of the pages in a given file, and on the right we have the individual page. So as you scroll up and down here, it will adjust the image that you're looking at here, and vice versa. You can move up and down the images, but also when you do a search, so we have a search box up at the top, then you can actually move through the results one by one, exactly the same we saw in the Mirador viewer. So if I click on here, what we see is the simultaneous highlighting of the search term in the transcript on the left and on the image overlay on the right. And again, this image here is zoomable. I could zoom right in if it was unclear or illegible and so on. And here's just another example showing sort of multiple matches on one page. I've sort of clicked next, moved on to the next page. It's jumped me down the document. And here, again, much like Mirador, we highlight the current match, but any other matches on that page. And this is all overlaid on the image. This, thanks to the magic of Unicode, this also works for multilingual documents. So in this case, we switch to the Arabic interface, and we're searching for the Arabic word sheriket, which means companies. And again, we're seeing that matched both on the left within the transcribed text, the OCR text, and on the right overlaid on the original document. So that's effectively what it looks like, what it can look like. In terms of implementing it yourself, at the end of the day, just like the presentation API, this is purely JSON output. So you need a way to generate a JSON file in response to the input. Like I said, right at the beginning, the input is just a URL query string. It's that Q parameter, which is required, and all the rest are optional. So you need to be able to parse user input and do some search and generate some output. So you'll need something to be able to handle the web pages, the request and response, so a web server. You will need the content to search itself. So this would be a case of taking all of, in this example, transcriptions, but in any other case, any other annotations that you have on your manifest and putting them into some way to search it. Now, it could be simply a database such as MySQL, but I would argue you'll get a lot more useful results if you put it into a specialized search application server, such as Elasticsearch or Solr, because they can do a lot more intelligent matching. So they will do things like stemming in various languages, so that if I search for bird, it would also find bird house or birding, if that's a verb, or things like that. And they can do stuff like autocomplete if you want to support that as well. So best if you can put it into search application server, and then ultimately you need then some glue language, something that will server side respond to read in the query string, the Q parameter, do a search using your search application server and getting results from there, and then reformat them into the required JSON following the specification that is amply clear on the AAAF site. And the good news is, if you already have something that does site-wide search and just displays you search results of finding things in your archives or anywhere else, then chances are it will be fairly easy to effectively reformat those results to, instead of doing a human readable HTML page, do a machine readable JSON page and just restrict the search result to a single file or group of pages, if it is indeed an archive. And then the very final thing you need, so again, I mentioned it's optional, but I would say very desirable, is, as well as knowing that a search term matches a given page, you really want to know where on that page it is. And so for that, you really want a source format that will store positional information. And so as far as I know, the best standard currently for that is Alto from the Library of Congress, that allows you to mark up a page not only with the textual content, but the position that it relates to on the source image. So that's it. Just to wrap up, what I would say is that all the examples I've shown you are for transcriptions, which I would say is probably the most obvious relationship of content to an image. But this is a plea to say that it's much more general purpose in its intent, and there are other use cases I can imagine, such as user-generated comments. You might ask people to contribute and comment on a particular document, and again, particular regions of a document. It might be something like student homework for if you have artworks or conservation images, and you want them to actually go and annotate the things that they've found or opinions about certain areas of an image, and then to have these as a searchable interface. And finally, this isn't supported yet, but hopefully this will be something they introduce for the version 3 of the Content Search API, is the equivalent but for time-based media. So the current presentation API spec supports audio-visual media as well as flat images. And in that case, you could see that certainly you could add comments or have annotations for a given time point within a video or audio. So I think I'm out of time. So I don't know if we have questions now or later, but either way, thank you very much for your attention. And my contact details are there if you want to get in touch. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tristan. Can you throw your email also in the notes document, just so people can find it once this slide closes?
Yes, I'll do that.
No.
Sure.
We had one question. It started very early on from Marco Strafkerk. Hi, Marco. He asked, this assumes interacting with the IIIF server.
Yes, that is a very good point. The other thing you will really want in order to do provide the overlays and so on is a IIIF image server, but in a way that's more of a prerequisite of having a IIIF manifest. So the layering, if you like, goes IIIF image as in a way the baseline of getting your images online in a flexible format, a IIIF manifest that describes the relationship between multiple images, so in that case grouping them together into a book or a file, and then finally once you've got those two, you can layer on the IIIF content search API that enables searching within the annotations of that. So yes, that's a very good point. You do need IIIF image server as a sort of baseline.
Okay, yeah, no, that's clear. Well, clear for me at least, but thanks, Marco, for raising the point about lacking some context. We'll definitely keep that in mind moving forward in terms of what the base level knowledge of everyone joining is when it comes to having an understanding of IIIF. I have one follow-up question, Tristan. You mentioned annotations being able, adding annotations to documents through this. Will those be findable through the same search layer after the fact?
Yes, absolutely. So the purpose of the API is much more is general. It is to be able to search any annotation on canvases of a manifest. So the annotations on an image, it's really up to the implementer how and what you surface and what you consider those annotations to be. So in all the examples I showed, that an individual annotation is effectively a transcribed word of a document. So one page may have hundreds. In another, you could also, and even simultaneously, have the idea of annotations that might be, say, user comments, in which case they might select a paragraph and say, you can see here that this is the first mention of this person or something else. And this is where the motivation parameter comes in. So you can in theory, though I haven't seen this in practice, have multiple different annotation systems on a document. And you might then say, send me a query. I want to search the text with a motivation of, I can't remember what it is, that the painting on the page or something, and then separately send the same query and say, and now I want to search the comments that have been made on that. So it's intentionally designed to be very flexible. In practice, I've only ever sort of seen one annotation scheme being used at a time, but absolutely you could support all sorts of different ways to annotate a document. Does that answer your question, Greg? Yeah.
Right. It gives me some more context. We have now more questions coming in. If just for the next presenters, if people can have their questions coming in a bit sooner, that'll help us pace them out. So I'll take the first two here from DS. One is, can I integrate CoGAP with some popular digital repository system like DSpace? Which repository systems have you used the app most effectively? And the second question, how good is it filtering wrong spellings, for example?
So to take that in turn, I'm not familiar with DSpace. What you would have to do, I think, in that case is look to see whether anybody had provided either a whole package that would actually, ideally understand your content in DSpace and then can support the IIIF ways of seeing it. And if you were very lucky, someone had already written a plugin or whatever that would do content search and respond to it. If you're not lucky, it would be a case of seeing how close you could get. So is there then a general search results module, which you could then customize and extend to supply the information in JSON format as well as HTML format. So my guess is it would require some developer time and some knowledge of the source system that you're trying to extend. For the second question, how good is it at things like misspellings? The answer is it depends on the underlying data store. So as I said, Some systems might just store things in a relational database, such as MySQL. Often those do very simple search and match and probably wouldn't account for misspellings. Search application servers such as Elasticsearch and Solr are a lot more configurable and a lot more intelligent when it comes to matching content, and they will also do things, they have the ability to do things like, did you mean, if input users put in mistype themselves, it will then look for the correct spelling within the corpus, within the data set that it's got. So that depends on the underlying systems, really.
All right, thank you very much. There's one more question from Christina Rose in the chat. If you could get to that while we move on to the next presenter.
Yes, so the question there is about Alto files, and then are they linked as annotations? In the cases where we have implemented the Content Search API, we have Alto, but it is effectively an internal format. So we store the full Alto record in the Solr Elasticsearch data service, data store, and we will query that and then read it to find the positional matches. You absolutely could and arguably should link those up and make those public. And again, I think there is a way to do that from the presentation manifest. So you could actually say, for each of these pages, you can find the alternative Alto format representation, and then that would allow people to download that and to use that in their own system. So that would be a thing I'd love to do, is to actually extend it to make that public. But currently we use it effectively as an internal data format, albeit one that is standards based.
Thank you, Tristan. Moving on. Andrea, are you ready to go?
Yes, thank you. Hello, my name is Andrea Sagic. I work as a head of digital development department in small public library Milutin Bojic from Serbia. I'm a co-chair of Europeana Tech community, also co-chair of IIIF AV community and IIIF ambassador. As one of my job as a IIIF ambassador, especially here in Serbia, to bring IIIF, to spread the IIIF standard. And the great success was the integration into our national aggregator for Europeana. Now you will see how to present your IIIF digital collection into Europeana. How to get your digital object into Europeana and look like this. Now you see, if you have IIIF in your digital repository, you can send your IIIF info to Europeana and open it directly into their Mirador viewer. So, what you need to have? You need to have a digital repository that have IIIF implemented. I have a national aggregator actually that support IIIF. So, how all process is gone? You have a digital repository. We actually use Rescarta. As you see, this is the link. This is a tool set how to prepare your digital content, put your metadata, do OCR, make a collection, correct the OCR, and publish it. It's all content here. You can see it, everything. Here, I will share the link for the presentation, so you have all links presented there. How the process go? So you have digital repository with IIIF, share the metadata to national aggregator. They see if the quality, they check the quality, they back to you if it needed to enrich, you back them the metadata, they pass those metadata into the Europeana sandbox to check the validity of metadata. They back validation. If need something to fix or to add, back to you, you enrich, and the process is go when it's fitted over the aggregator, go to Europeana, and it's visible now. So the whole process is described here on Europeana Pro site. You can see here everything you need to publish your IIIF digital objects into Europeana. So everything you need is in this place. Also, there are Europeana data model and IIIF. So the documentation can be found in this place. So if it look too complicated to you, if you're new in all this area, you have these different cases of IIIF in EDM, so you can see actually how it look like and what fields you need to fulfill to be seen into Europeana that support IIIF actually. So go next. How to present with IIIF? IIIF support these object types. IIIF presentation. What is IIIF presentation? For me, that I would like to say, it's only one file which describes everything. It describes you have metadata. It describes how many pages you have. If you have search API, it's there. Everything what is needed to preview your digital object in different viewers, wherever you want, is presented in presentation API. As you see, the version 2 supports only image, and OCR data. I think images, not only photographs, while the scanned textual pages, that's images as a type. And the presentation 3 is support also multimedia, which means audio and video files, OCR data, transcript, and subtitles. So about the specifications, you can find it on this link. As you see, this is the link about the specification about presentation API 3. So, what about our library? I would like to thank Mr. Henning Scholz from Europeana Aggregator, who really helped me and our national aggregator, which also want to thank Tamara Butigan and their team. We work hard to implement, to find actually the best way to define the fields, what need to be fulfilled, and what we see in that process, that the presentation version 3 isn't supported. I have presentation 3, version 3. When it's sent to Europeana, I don't get anything. So I use the presentation version 2, and it's worked. So also IIIF search API, as it mentioned by Tristan, it isn't supported. They support and they have their own plugin for that. So for now, you just can present your images without any other functions, just to list them. And this is it. Only text and images you can present on Europeana, but multimedia also isn't supported. So I can't use the version 3 and to share my multimedia audio or video files, digital objects to be seen into Europeana. What is the viewer? Europeana use IIIF viewer. You can see text and images. You cannot use your OCR data and multimedia also. They have their own viewers for that. And what it's needed to publish the Europeana? In first step, you need to have the repository with integrated IIIF. If you don't know where to search, how to find it, the IIIF GitHub also have a great list from you can start it. There are some paid services. Also, there's open source services, and softwares that you can use. And the step 2, which is also important, to check with your aggregator, your national aggregator, if it supports IIIF. And where are the aggregators? You can find it on the link of Europeana page. This is the list of your Europeana aggregators. It's domain and thematic list, and national and regional. You can contact them and to check if they support IIIF, or if they don't, you get the full support of Europeana team to work in that field and to include IIIF in your national aggregator. So I hope so. I have some information that those topics will be planned to support presentation version 3, also to include Search API from those presentation, from those manifests, and to include multimedia in Mirador. I hope so that this year will be that year. So thank you, and this is my email. I hope I was short, clear, and that isn't too complicated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
Some questions?
No questions yet. Maybe they'll come in. It's always great to see more examples of different institutes providing their content in IIIF to Europeana, and how much that continues to be improved. That opportunity is open to anyone interested in it. Maybe Andrea, if you can answer this question, maybe it's a question for Henning. Erwin asks if the media player is no longer being used in Europeana.
Yeah, and maybe I should detail that a little bit. So Andrea, you showed on your slide that there's currently no multimedia players support, but there was a project. This is 3 years ago in which there was the Universal Playout Service, I think, was delivered, which is a IIIF supported media player.
Yeah, I think now in Europeana, in Mirador, which is the official IIIF in Europeana. I don't see any universal viewer in Europeana. I searched the multimedia audio and video, and I see I think it's Video GS for video and audio is, but for Europeana portal, regarding
okay. I put some links in the chat. I'll put them in the document. Maybe it'd be good to check on the status of that project. Maybe it's been, I don't know what the developments there are.
Yeah, I know this viewer, but it's not included in the in portal. No, and I think about Mirador, that it's not supported by multimedia, because I cannot send IIIF version 3 presentation because of that. I hope it will be soon.
Maybe there's someone from the foundation spectating who can add something to the chat.
Yeah, we're willing to help, of course,
yeah.
to improve. I think it would be easy to upgrade everything.
Well, thank you very much. Also, thank you for being so concise and clear.
I see Henning said working on version 3. Yeah, great.
I will now pass the microphone to my ex-colleague, who I think might have been involved in that media player project he was just talking about, Erwin Verbruggen.
Hi, sorry for interrupting. I was expecting to be last and to be having to do my entire presentation in 5 minutes, but it looks like we have some time. So that's fun. That's good. Hi everyone. Let me quickly share my slides. And thank you, Andrea and Tristan, for those amazing presentation. I'm looking for the share screen option, which is here. And voila. This should work. I left my browser bar on display on purpose so that I can switch back and forth. Wish me luck with showing you live websites. Just one little extra bit of housekeeping before I get started. Yeah, this should do it. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Erwin. I'm going to be talking about Micreo, IIIF, and museum websites. I know many of you don't come from specifically the museum world. I hope some of the examples are at least inspiring or give you an idea of what we do for museums, and is something that we can also take to archives and other organizations, libraries, to name a few, galleries. I'm going to be talking about Micreo, and I was thinking beforehand, Greg had instructed us a little bit on what to tell you guys and what not to tell you guys. So I was thinking, are we going to be talking about how does Micreo work in the back end? How does Micreo work in the sense of what is it and what does it do? Or are we going to be talking about what you can do with it and how much effort it takes to work on it? And I decided to sort of be in the realm of, like, you know, just giving you a bit of an overview what it is, what it does, and how much effort it takes to use it for yourself, should you so decide. Who am I? I'm Erwin. I currently work at Q42. I'm showing also on the right, Marcel, he's not here. He's the lead developer of Micreo. He's, I like to call him the mastermind behind it. He doesn't really like it. I joined Q42, which I'll talk more about in a sec, in 2020. And I don't think I would have been hired if it weren't for IIIF. So thanks for getting me a job, everyone. Before this, I was working at Sound & Vision, where Greg works, and so I worked on the Europeana Media Player, hence my interest, and on setting up the Europeana Tech IIIF working group. So it's good to be back. So Marcel and I work at Q42, and we're not the only ones. It's about 90 people working there. So the same caveat that Tristan gave you. Feel free to get in touch if you want to involve us in a project. We'd love to. I'd love to work with Tristan on a project as well. So if we can make that happen, that'd be extra nice. So this is a bit of an overview. This is just our website. It's not super fancy, but I like it as a bit of an overview, what we do, what we work. I mostly work on websites, which is the left corner, but basically we work on tech. We're not a design firm, and we're not a testing firm. We're a technical agency, so we're here for your technical implementations, mostly user-facing. There's some caveats there, but mostly we make experiences for people on the web or on their phones. And we do those for a variety of branches of sectors, of both the public sector as the private sector. So we do some e-commerce experience, you name it. But I spend my days mostly working with museums and public organizations and education and NGOs. And so what I like about this is that we sort of try to take lessons learned from the commercial sector and bring them to the nonprofit sector, so that the user experience becomes more elevated in that sense. I wanted to there's three parts to this talk. I wanted to start by giving you a bit of an overview of formats, things that we show in Micreo, and then zoom in a little bit more about specific case of one of the museums that we work for, which is the Van Gogh Museum here in Amsterdam, where I am based. The company, we also have a place in The Hague, but that doesn't really matter. We work for a lot of Dutch organizations as well as internationally. So formats in Micreo. So Micreo is three things. That's what I really wanted to start out with. Micreo is a cloud-based. It's a IIIF viewer. It's a IIIF server. It's a storytelling platform, and it's built for speed. So those are the three. If I would say the four basic ingredients that make up Micreo. So half of that is really putting the power of IIIF to use as an online experience. And about that speed, that's kind of the first example that I want to give. Micreo started out in 2015 and was built for a project that we did with a public broadcaster about a painting, an experience around Hieronymus Bosch painting. And so it has been built up from there. and I'll show the IIIF timeline in a second. But this is kind of what we say. Micrio is it's a ultra high resolution storytelling tool. And what does ultra high resolution mean? Well, that sort of definition keeps expanding as technology expands. This, for example, we could do a guessing game if anybody here would sort of be able to guess which painting this is. But this is you'll see this in a second. This is in its origins, when we got this delivered, this was a 4 terabyte TIFF file of a painting that I think some of you will recognize. So this is the Night Watch that was digitized again during a research project recently. And so this is what you see is the Rijksmuseum website. This is one of the this is the story platform, and where that image is being delivered through Micrio. And so you can take that so the image has a resolution of 5 microns, and this is something that you can whip out your mobile phone and zoom into these minute details, which is pretty astounding and fun, I would say. So this is definitely out there in the region of largest images that we serve out, and that maybe are being served in the IIIF domain. But I'm hoping other people have other astounding examples. So Micrio didn't start out as a IIIF viewer. Micrio started out as an ultra high resolution storytelling platform back in 2015. I think immediately David Haskia, then tech director of Europeana, many of you will know him, was immediately asking like, hey, is this an open source tool? Yes or no? And does it even support IIIF? And I went back to sort of see the Slack history in the company around that time, and people, what's IIIF? What is that? And after a while, and so this is the point where I was saying I think I got my current gig because of being involved with IIIF, because around 2019, full IIIF compatibility was being built in. And then in 2021, we started supporting the IIIF Image API version 3.0. So we currently have support for the Image API 3.0 and the presentation API, I believe, partly, but that's still version 2. And I'm really hoping that we get clients and people that want to work with us on implementing the content search API. That'd be amazing. The next example I want to show. So the speed that comes with Micrio is because the way we set it up, it's cloud-based. Clients like Van Gogh have a lot of international visitors, people that come from China, Japan, the States, and around the globe, and that we still need to serve out. So we do a lot of customization. We use content delivery networks to make sure that to all corners of the world, these images and content can be delivered as fast as possible. Last year, there was a question on the IIIF Slack for some of the craziest examples out there. Somebody, I think the University of Edinburgh, digitized this Mahabharata scroll, which is some 300 meters long, I believe. And that's something that we now that we just as a, for the sort of showing what Micrio can do as IIIF viewer, we implemented. So this is something that you can scroll through the entire thing. And so what you see here, so this is being loaded from the University of Edinburgh's own server. So now we're just using Micrio as a viewer, and then the loading takes a bit of time. But still, it's an amazing document to behold. So I'll add the links to the Google Doc for you to scroll through when you're tired of Twitter. And then, whoops, and should go back. Why I wanted to talk about formats first is because we started out with saying, okay, we have a 2D space that we want to do things in. A 2D space, you can sort of go up and down and left and right and tell more about details, which is the storytelling. I'll get to that. But then sort of other formats started creeping in, and people started coming to Micrio asking, well, what can we do with 360 degrees environments? What can we do with objects and looking around objects? And of course, in IIIF world, a bit of a given, but not something that we encountered previously. What can we do with books? Is this something we can do? So to give you some quick examples, what you see here, this is the Holocaust memorial that was recently erected in in Amsterdam. And so this is an experience that was built by the National Public Broadcaster, or I would say the news or the National Public News Organization, to give people sort of the combination of sort of being there presently. I mean, this is basically your Google Maps, where you can click to different stages, and then sort of discover the stories of some of the people that are mentioned on that work. But so that for the purpose of sort of giving people some ways of using 360-degree storytelling, we set up a dedicated editor where you can sort of link together 360-degree images of spaces and then sort of have people walk around in that. The other format that I mentioned is a smaller project that we're currently doing with Modemuze. Modemuze is a national project in the Netherlands around fashion history. They're also deeply involved with the Europeana Fashion, or the European Fashion Heritage Association, I should say, to sort of not take the world around you, but take one object. And so what we're not doing is implementing any kind of 3D scanning, but what we do try to do is optimize as much as possible, not showing just one image that you can zoom in and out of, but just stitching together images from all angles. And then you get this kind of experience where you need to, again, speed is of the essence here, be able to load an entire array of images in a way that you can sort of hold that position. And so that's something we're working on with Modemuze, that you can sort of both keep the detail of these high resolution images and see an object from its various sizes. The third example I have here is not something I can currently show. But this is an effort of showcasing a book that was done by the archaeological department from the municipality of Amsterdam, which is it's a massive tome. So it's a 400 page book or something, that basically, in the same way as that here, where you scroll around this little mannequin, you can also scroll through the pages of a book and have that same sort of speed and sort of lack of latency to really go through images. So those are sort of I think it started out as one image and then stories about one image, and we're really sort of building into various ways of using images to tell stories in image formats. Video is not something we do. It's not something that's in scope yet. Oh, this is working after all. Okay, I didn't think these videos were going to work. Anyways, onwards and upwards. Yeah. So 2 parts. First, I want to talk a little bit about Van Gogh Museum and other museums that are using Micrio as their sort of full-on image delivery solution. It's not a dam. It's not something that you would manage your collection in, but we do have some organizations, some museums that use Micrio to serve out their entire image collections on their websites. So we started doing this in 2016 for the Lakenhal Museum, which is based in Leiden. And they had 40,000 high-res images that they wanted to display. And so the zooming image viewer, the IIIF-enabled zooming image viewer of Micrio was put on their website. And then we sort of, from their cloud storage, we deliver every image in their collection on their website. And so we're doing the same thing for Van Gogh, which has a bit of a smaller collection. It's 4,500 images, more or less. And so we're displaying, as I mentioned, they have a worldwide reach. So there's a lot of traffic. I think that's actually sort of the second highest amount of traffic on that website comes from China, and that's why they're hosting this themselves on their own sort of Azure, Microsoft Azure instance. And so back in, I think the latest stats on server traffic that I had in August was some 5.7 terabytes in sort of user data that was being pulled on this website. One of the ways that we use the advantages of IIIF here is that we implemented every thumbnail on this collection website is sizable, so you can when you open that website, you see the thumbnails of all the images, and then when you just want to make them bigger, you can go to a unique view, and that's something that's a bit of a feature that leans on the ways that you can ask IIIF for various image sizes. So that's what showing here. If you inspect that environment, you see that all the IIIF URLs behind it. Yeah, so we're doing this for Van Gogh, we're doing this for the Philadelphia Art Museum, we're doing this for the Rijksmuseum. And there's currently also one DAMS provider that has integrated Micreo, so that you don't, for most of the museums that I just mentioned, there's a one-time export to publish images on the web. This specific DAM system has a two-way link. So when it's being published, your DAM records the Micreo ID, and then you have this sort of stable, you know where your images live on the web, so to say. 1 or 2 minutes, I'll speed it up, Greg, thanks. Last but not least, Micreo is providing storytelling on top of those images by way of markers. So this is the front end of the Van Gogh website. On the back side, this is what it looks like. So there's an entire dashboard where web editors, content editors can, thanks Marco, bye, can add information about the images, and that becomes sort of a rich storytelling experience in the front end. Ideally, the information that editors put here and publish in those markers is also something that leads back into the presentation API, and then could also be connected back to a DAM system, so that it's all being managed in one place. But we haven't made that round trip, or that entire sort of loop from image to collection to story to back to your editing system. That would be kind of the dream, but it's not something that we currently have implemented. That's actually sort of the whirlwind tour of what Micreo is and does, and I would be very curious to hear questions about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ervin. There was one question, but it was from Marco, who just left. So it's in the Google Doc if you want to get to it.
Okay. Shall we treat the question anyways, as people are?
What DAMS VGM uses? What digital asset management does the Van Gogh Museum use? Or the
I'm actually not sure. I know the collections information is an AdLib, but I'm not 100% certain what DAM Van Gogh uses.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, we are out of time. I would like to thank everyone for presenting. Thank you very much, and I'll see everyone next time.